Peace, family. This your brother, Mr. Holipsism, here with another live stream at 2 p.m. New York time. I hope y'all didn't hear that. That's the feedback. I always forget when I start the show to shut off the mute the show page. So sorry about that. Anyway, first thing I want to do is give some plugs. Like I said, I'm trying to get good at this, because I'm so not used to plugging anything when I start the show. I usually just pick a topic, go into it, never plug my channel, never plug, the BAIO outlet. So I want to take care of that now. I don't want to plug my channel because if you're on here listening to it, you already know my channel. But I want to plug the BAIO social media. On YouTube, it's obvious because you're on, well, no, because you're on my channel. On YouTube, it's the BAIO Afrikstan. BAIO Afrikstan. Type that in the search and you'll get it. We don't have a custom made URL yet because YouTube did some changes with that. So peace. What up, Nico? If you want to get us on Facebook, it's Black African Infrastructure on Facebook. So just type in Black African Infrastructure, or you can go to the YouTube channel and all the links that I'm about to tell you are there at the BAIO Afrikstan YouTube channel, the official channel for the BAIO. Peace. What's up, Mufasa? On Twitter, we're BAIO Afrikstan. On Instagram, we're BAIO Afrikstan. And on Blog Talk Radio, we're BAIO Radio on Blog Talk. You're not really going to get much. If you want to listen to some of our older shows, you can go to Blog Talk Radio because we haven't started up. And actually, we kind of lightweight pissed at Blog Talk, so that's the reason why we haven't really used that platform. I think we're going to probably be using YouTube more than Blog Talk Radio, but for now, if you want to check our archives, they're there. Oh, and of course, the BAIO website, and that's BAIO Afrikstan 5, the number 5.ning.com. And I believe, actually, will it let me? Will it let me put it in? Yeah. Actually, since it lets me put it in the chat room, I'll send you all the links. That's the BAIO website, the Ning site. That's the YouTube channel. Unfortunately, we don't have a custom URL, so we got a bunch of, letters and shit behind it. So if you click on that, you can get to the website, the YouTube channel, and just, subscribe to it and click the little bell so that way you'll be uploaded, because we're going to start doing live streams on the BAIO channel instead of mine. I'm still going to do mine, but, the BAIO is going to do their own. Let's do the Facebook. Put that in there. That's BAIO on Facebook. This is BAIO on Twitter. Boom, boom, boom. Like I said, all these links are on the BAIO YouTube channel, but I just want to give it to you since you're here. This is BAIO on Instagram. And just to forewarn you, some of this stuff has content, some of it doesn't, because we're trying to get this whole thing started up. We've been kind of busy and no one else has really taken on the taking the baton and running with it. So it's basically just me, Colin, Minister, trying to handle all of the admin stuff, and I have very little time. So I hope I got that out of the way. That's my little plugs for the BAIO. And I want to get into the topic, which I don't know. I don't think it's going to last too long because I'm not really talking with anybody. This is just me. Reparations. Where's the leverage? What leverage do Black African people in America have when they ask for reparations from the United States government? And if they were to obtain reparations from the government, what would it look like? Now, to some of y'all, this might seem redundant because I've been through this before, but I wanted to touch on this because I spoke on it briefly on the last show I did with Dynast on Search for Your Hero. I always want to ask the people that push for reparations and who say that we should, some people say that the position should be we should go for reparations instead of going for a nation, which to me doesn't make any sense. It's like saying we need to go out and get some jumbo shrimp because we don't like seafood. It doesn't make sense. Reparations is closely tied to nation because, like I said before, it's repairing a nation. So how can you repair a nation and then say, well, we don't want the nation, we just want the reparations? We want to repair the nation, but we don't want the nation itself. That doesn't make any sense. So my first question is for those people. How do you want reparations without actually having a nation? Second question, what's your leverage when the United States government refuses to give you reparations? I'm not even getting into where they're going to get it from because I don't care. To be honest with you, if the United States were, and this is, keep in mind, this isn't a perfect world. This is like fantasy. So this is almost like Marvel Comics I'm giving you right now. In a perfect world, if the UN said that the United States would have to pay Black folks in America reparations and it was to bankrupt and bring down the whole US economy, I can give less than two fucks. So when people start talking about where's the money going to come from, wherever, nigga, whatever bleeds you dry, that's where it'll come from. I could give a shit about how us getting paid affects America. That's just me. But my question is, where's the leverage? When they don't give it to you, which they're not, what leverage are you going to use to get it? Or are you going to not pursue it and then pursue something else? Or are you going to beg a little harder? I want somebody that's telling me about the reparations drive, how you're going to go about this. See, my position on reparations is I have absolutely no problem if there's a contingent of us from our community. Yeah, right, exactly, Mufasa. If there's a contingent from our community that wants to pursue reparations, I would not be against it. Like if, let's say, we establish Afrikstan on the continent, and there were a group of our people that wanted to go to the UN and push for reparations, I wouldn't fight it. I'm not. I don't necessarily. I don't necessarily feel like, just me personally, I feel that we can handle a lot of stuff on our own if we really wanted to. But if you want to push the reparations thing, you can push it. I'm not against it. But my question is, what's your leverage and they don't give it to you? That's my question. Because they're not going to give it. They're not going to give you reparations. They're not going to give it to you. So what are you going to do when they don't give it to you? What's your plan B? DOS. What's your plan B, DOS? That's what I want to know. Because everybody keeps talking about it, talking about reparations. All right, so that's my other question. The next question that I have, if you don't have a nation, and let's say they do give you reparations, what form will that reparations take? Now, I want to give people an opportunity to answer, and I'm not even talking about the brothers and sisters in the chat room or the people in the chat room, because we all know what time it is. I'm talking about the people that's pushing for this. What form will those reparations take? Because if you don't have a nation, what are you getting funds for? Like, are you getting reparations for each individual? Like, are we talking about individual checks? What are we talking about? 42 tribes. Peace, what's up? Right now, the only leverage is 4 more years of Trump. You have to buy reparations by buying politicians and US currency. Well, politicians are definitely up for sale in the United States. The U.S. has more than enough money, 3 trillion over 30 years would barely scratch the budget. You have to have a plan A before a plan B. I agree. Yvette and them say baby bonds, where people get government bonds that grow with them that they can use over time. So basically, like I said, we're trying to approach a systematic problem with individual solutions. Would I be wrong in saying that baby bonds to who? To individuals? Yeah, reparations means to repair damage. It means also to repair nations. When did black people stop getting damaged? Yeah, exactly. I agree. So that's my question. What form will it take? Are you talking about individual payouts? Then you've lost. And this is why I say we have to have people that think big, man. We have to have people that think big to talk for us. I'm tired of having these little fucking bingo hall people trying to talk about world economies. I'm just tired of it, man. You got to think in terms of nation. You got to think in terms of infrastructure. You got to think in terms of trade and commerce, providing jobs for your people based on the infrastructure. Um, Reparations would be similar to what it was for everyone else who received it. It would be a check and education to use it. It is individual solutions unless you make other chess moves. Then I'm not interested in it personally. And like I said, if you take a government check, let's say, I'm just going to use this as a scenario. The government hands out checks to people of African descent. One of the things that's going to happen is if the government is handing out money, everybody's going to be of African descent. Even white folks going to be claiming that they of African descent so they can get some money. So just logistically, I don't know how that's going to work. But let's just say that every black person who's supposed to get it gets it. Do you realize that after you get that check, your leverage is gone? Don't try to push. You cannot push this identity politics. You cannot push this slavery stuff. You can't push the discrimination and racism. All that's going to happen is if you come out and you say something against it, they're going to go into their files, find your social security number, give you the number of the check that they wrote to you, and say, nigga, shut the fuck up. You got paid. Peace, everybody. Peace, Real Paradise Blue. Peace, 999 billion. But like I said, I'm not against reparations. I'm just feel that reparations should be established once we get a nation. If you don't have a nation first, then what you're going to have is just individual payouts. And if you have individual payouts, you have collective. You're basically just asking the government for a handout. And what is the price that you can get? What do you think the price is for each individual that they should get for 400 years of slavery? Anybody got a figure on that? Like what's an acceptable amount for each individual to get? Stay on code, peace. D Stevenson 100, peace. Sunny, peace. Anybody? Any figure? I'm really curious to know, like what would be an acceptable figure for each individual to get? Oh God, it's so ass backwards the way that we think as a people, man. Now imagine instead of thinking about it from an individual standpoint, what each individual is getting checks, which is the incorrect way that reparations should be parted out. Think about it if you had a piece of land and the ability to build infrastructure on that land. Then where would the reparations go? The reparations would go towards your nation. Another thing is if you don't have a government, you have nobody in charge of your nation, then how would the reparations be allocated? See, we're trying to put the cart before the horse. We don't want to even have a government that represents us. We don't want to have land, but we want to have reparations first. Doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Yo, is there anybody that wants to come into this conversation? Because I'll send you the link and we can talk. Like somebody that knows something about reparations, or maybe they know the position of people who want to have reparations, because I'll bring you in. Just let me know if you want to do it and I'll send you the link. Let me get the link. Oh, I actually put your email address in the chat room and I'll send it to you. Do that. But yeah, I'm really trying to understand it, man. I'm trying to understand what form of do people expect reparations to be, and also what leverage do you have when they don't give it to you? Because they're not going to give it to you. You're not going to get it. So what's the plan B? Not might, must. They all need to go somewhere and we'll take back over and finish everything. Well, that would be beautiful, but that's not going to happen. These people are firmly entrenched where they are here in America. Getting the white people out of America is good luck with that. And actually, like I've often said, fuck America. Why is it that we feel America is not even prime real estate? Everybody keeps, oh, the prime real estate is no, the prime real estate is in Africa. Oh, tribes. All right, I'm gonna send this to you now. Hold on. Let's have this conversation. Let me know if you got it. I just sent it to you. Ba, 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 ba. Oh, let's get 42 tribes in on this conversation. And who's this is another question. Who exactly is representing us when it comes to reparations? If we go before the UN, what body is representing us? Because you can't have all 44 million people show up at the UN and talking about, I want to check. What body have we elected to represent us in terms of reparation? Because I said this before, like people were talking about the Nation of Islam going to the UN for reparations. Well, if the Nation of Islam goes to the UN for reparations, the Nation of Islam actually has a nation. So if any reparations are handed out, they're going to be handed out to the Nation of Islam, the Nation of Islam. Do you not understand how this shit works? They have an actual nation. So the money's going to go to the Nation of Islam. Are you in the Nation of Islam? Oh, you're not. So then how are you going to benefit from that? Oh, I guess the Nation of Islam is just going to take care of you. Oh my God, man. Hold on. You're 42. Did you get it? Are you having any problems getting in? Because I know everybody seems to have a problem getting in. For some reason. Uh-oh. All right. I'll resend it. Hold on. I sent it again. Okay, Sonny. From what I know, Johnny Cochran was the last person, but they executed him. Johnny Cochran alone won't be enough. Is someone like Elder Dr. Claude Anderson doing, the representing at the UN? But Claude Anderson is not, he hasn't been elected by anybody. So if he did it, he would just be doing that on his own. And then saying that he's, see, we're so loosely, we're not, I won't even say loosely organized. We're not organized at all. Nationhood is organization. This is why we keep pushing nationhood, nationhood, nationhood. We keep jamming it down people's throat. Nationhood, nation. We need a nation. There you go. What's up, bro? Can you hear me? I think you're on mute. Take your mute off. Hello? I hear you, but I don't think you're hearing me. I hear you, some scrambling going on in the background.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, what's up, bro?
Just getting situated.
Gotcha. You on live now?
Live. Okay, how's it going?
Live. We're doing it live.
Oh, I'm all right. Just,
what's up, man? How you feeling?
Damn, I'm echoing. Hold on.
Really? I don't hear you echoing.
Hold on.
Oh, you know what you might have to do? Just mute on the show page. Like if you're looking at it on the YouTube, just mute that.
Might be. Yeah, I think I do have it in the background.
Yeah, if you mute it on the show page, you won't hear the echo.
All right.
There you go.
Swell.
Cool.
Good
so, bro,
topic.
what state do you reside in?
I'm up and down the West Coast.
Oh, you're in Cali?
Mostly Washington, sometimes Cali and Oregon.
Oh, okay. Good to have you on.
Good to be on. Good topic.
So what was your thoughts on the whole reparation? Like did you hear some of the questions that I asked?
Yeah. I'm with reparations. I see it as a top 5 power move, but by itself, I can understand why people throw their hands up and like this isn't going to work. This is like you said, putting the cart ahead of the horse. But because I see it as a top 5 power move and it can be done, my whole thing is I look at people that don't mention it like, wait a second, we can't go another generation where we're not mentioning it, because part of the human rights violations is that we weren't not allowed to pursue justice in any form. And like, we're living in a business. So if we're going to pursue justice, it's going to come in the form of finances, most likely. So the thing is, though, I mean, and you can go back before it was more about land with 40 acres and a mule, which still in terms would have been financing, because that's enough land to rent out and create business, economy, and all that. So that's really where I'm at. The main thing is I think it can be done. It would just take a type of political savvy that I'm not seeing, and I'm becoming a little bit more cynical. You know, like I'm more cynical because I think it's possible, doable, and a hell of a power move. But it's not like I don't see the type of conviction and political savvy that it would take amongst Black men. I see slivers of it amongst women, not amongst Black men. To me, Black men are the most politically inept people on the planet.
Got that right.
I mean, it's almost to the point where like the strategy we should just throw our hands up and start keying cars or something, because there is a political way to do it. I mean, the people show how to do it. I mean, the Japanese got reparations relatively quickly. It wasn't overnight, though. I think it was like it happened in the 50s when they interned a bunch of them, and they got it in the 80s. But
the Japanese government
and U.S. citizens, both.
Okay, so it was the government and the citizens. So it was the individuals got checks and the government structure got checks to rebuild Japan.
No, it was separate, I think, because the rebuilding of Japan, I would assume, was relatively quick. like it was with the same bill and the money that rebuilt Western Europe, which in turn that was reparations too. I could be wrong, but the thing with citizens, that I believe was separate, because that was like more of a American political thing that happened in the 80s and was paid. I think that was signed by Reagan.
That was if I'm not mistaken, that was a 20,000.
20,000 people.
No, like the figure was 20,000 a piece or something like that.
Oh,
I know
yeah,
it wasn't.
That sounds close to it.
Okay. Let's dig into this though, because you said you think that it could be done. Well, we'll explain how you feel it would be done. In your perfect world, how would we go about getting reparations?
Well, first, that it has to be number one on the political agenda, or at least top 5. I mean, we talk about colorism more than when we do reparations. We talk about inane shit. I talk about a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter as much as reparations all the time. Like it's not. And then there'd have to be financial investments to where we're not part of the process unless this is on the table. And so far, the only people that have said, hey, we're with it, is the Green Party. What does that matter? We're in a 2-party system. I think that does give some leverage with Democrats. But the thing is, Trump is so detestable that we could probably vote for him and he might not get elected. It depends. I mean, or it could go the other way around, where we're just that bigoted and people are lying and saying they hate Trump, and then when it's time to vote, they vote for him.
Now, I want to ask you a question. It may be a rhetorical one, but if it's not, then you can feel free to answer it. My position is we keep talking about what we need to do, but we haven't first established an actual tangible and concrete we. And this is, and nobody has really challenged me on this, because on a socioeconomic and political level, there is no real we. Black folks are just, and I've said this many times and I'll say it again, we're just a scattered group of individualists aligned by aesthetic similarities. People see us, they see we Black, and they put us all in the same boat together. And that's what people, now when you talk about we in that sense, when I hear people say, well, we need to do this or we need to do that, my first question is, who are you talking about? Because Black people don't have any organization. We don't have any representation. We haven't sat down and elected anybody to represent us. So then what you have is a bunch of people who pop up out of nowhere and come and say that they represent us, but they weren't elected by anybody. So that's my question. It's like, are we putting the cart before the horse? Before we can start talking about reparations, shouldn't we actually have a nation? Or at least, or if nation scares people, what about some organization?
It's a good question. In a way, the two of us are the we. We're that scattered. So damn near anybody represents us, but I think Tariq Nasheed puts it best when he says we're when in terms of power, and I'm paraphrasing, we're one big nigga. So
yeah, like the world sees us. We
are the one big nigga.
Yeah, the world sees us as a people, but it's like white supremacists and the system sees us more as a nation than we do. That's the crazy part. It's like we already, and I've made this point countless times. It's like everybody, when it comes to power, they try to make Black vague and ambiguous. You notice that? Like when you start talking about, well, we need to have a nation. Well, what do you mean we? Or who? What is Black? What? I mean, do you really know? But when it comes time to kicking our ass, the police killing us, discriminating against us, racism against us, red line, everything that you can think of, everybody knows with pinpoint accuracy who Black people are. It's not vague. It's not ambiguous. They know exactly who your Black ass is. So my question is, if the white supremacists and white people in the system and everybody, not forget white people, everybody sees us as a group of people that we should hate, why don't we rally around the fact that everybody fucking hates us and realize that that's the thing that unites us? That's the common denominator.
The thing is, how would you institutionalize that? Because I said the same thing, and I realized I was probably talking to some troll online. You know what I mean? Like, that, what you just said, it's kind of funny, but it's understood. Like, we are seen as more of a unifying force than we're even close to being.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I would suggest is starting with the church and the mosque and the religious institutions, wherever we organize heavily. And
But who would start it?
performing an agenda with that. Like,
Who
and
would
saying,
start it?
hey, who would start it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm that is my personal mission, is to lead by example in that field, is to open a church that's kind of like the last scene from Black Panther. You know what I mean? Like when they're in America,
Mm-hmm.
And then pass that on and just say, hey, I'm not going to argue about what gods you're with. I love all the gods. I'll coon it up and say I love the gods. We're going to have some kind of unifying agenda, because this is the main thing is that we have in common is we have respect for life. We're the less likely to be atheists. So we're the most, and a lot of this is a defense mechanism when life isn't as valuable as it could be if you were a privileged class of some sort. But that's what it is. I mean, that to me is the best way to organize. And I try in that mode to lead by example, because yeah, there is no it to formulate. But I'm saying that would be the formulation if you had some sort of pope of the Black church. But
But
the
I'm
thing
curious,
is, how does it
why would you pick the Black church first in terms of organization? I'm just curious.
just simple logistics? I'm as disappointed with them as anybody. Like when I talk about leading by example, it's not with the Christian church. It's a church that deals with science that would help people start businesses in their communities. You know, and that to me is like the type of foundation that if you're going to take anything from all the times people talk about ancient Egypt, medieval West Africa and all that, take that, because that's how they built their civilizations.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only reason. It's just logistics, because they've got issues, man. Like I did a little video about how if we were going to go build in Africa, we wouldn't take preachers or priests, reverends, anybody from the church, unless they were super wealthy. We might take Creflo Dollar just for the money alone. But if you go back in time with a nation like, let's say Kush, they'd have to take priests because that's their competence in different fields and everything. That's who's going to build their boats. That's who's going to train some of their sailors. And that's your agriculture and all that. So that's where I'd start is reforming the church to where it's more competent in doing a whole bunch of stuff other than music.
An alternative. I want to offer you an alternative, and I want to see what you think about it. Because keep in mind, you know, my opinions is just that, just opinions. So I like to talk to people so I can get their opinions and we can kind of have a good discussion in it, which is what we're having now. Mm-hmm. I think that, well, no, I won't think. I'll just state what we've done. At the BAIO,
listen.
There's people in there, there's RBG, and there's people in there that's Hebrew Israelite. Believe it or not, we actually managed to get some Hebrew Israelites in there, if you could believe that. We got people that are atheists. But there's no arguing, there's no back and forth, there's no trying to convert anybody into anything. And you know why? Because everybody, no matter what their political leanings or whatever their personal belief system is, they all want and all feel that Black people as a whole should have land, infrastructure, and nationhood. Now, that's a real-time example of people coming together despite their ideologies or their religious systems. Why wouldn't that be a better alternative than trying to convert the church into land, infrastructure, and nationhood? Oh, wait, did I lose him? Oh, hold on.
I'm right here.
Oh,
I
you
might
there?
have been
Okay.
muted. Yeah, I'm here. It's not so much that I would want to convert the church into land, infrastructure, and nationhood. It's that I would want to reform it so that it has an abundance of sciences instead of just, like I said, music. It has as many as are known, and one that researches the ones that aren't known. That to me is another of the top 5 power moves. Now, in doing that, that's, you would have the resources to develop land, travel to land, you know, and develop like that. It's that extra bump in competence. I see it as a power move, but then actually making the moves, to me, it's not so much of an alternative. You're talking about how you would then make the moves. I'm just saying that if
No, actually,
it ought to be a message that people should take in. Take note, Sankofa from the ancestors. This is what worked. You can't just go to church and beat the tambourine. Let's put some scientists in this.
but I don't think, like me personally, I don't feel that transforming the church is anything that I'm even interested in. What I'm interested in is, are the people in that church interested in land, infrastructure, nationhood? They live in this society. They may go to church and they may believe in Jesus and all. I don't really care about that. What I'm asking is, on your everyday life, do you not see what's going on with your people and with yourself? Just because you're in the church, it does not insulate you from America. So if I appeal to you on that level, I think that would reach a lot of people in the church, and it has. Like I said, we have Christians, people that are all different denominations of Christians in the BAIO, because we don't concentrate on their ideology in terms of what God they believe in. We're saying, listen, we all live here in this country, and do you see what's happening to us collectively? Nobody cares what your religion is when you step outside of that house. So what we're doing is we're coming at them from the land, infrastructure, nationhood. That's the perspective that we're approaching all of these groups with. And I believe that's why we've been able to bring together different types of ideologies, because the overriding principle is land, infrastructure, nationhood. And if you concentrate on that and you concentrate less on whether Jesus is the true God or this one, the Prophet Muhammad that's going down a slippery slope. It usually doesn't get you anywhere. But if you talk about land, infrastructure, nationhood, I think that that's something that ties us all together. If you're talking about wanting to have a better life for yourself and your children and the future of our people, I'm just asking, do you think that that's a more efficient way to deal with it, rather than trying to convert or trying to transform what already exists? Because I believe that once you form the nation, those things that you're asking for, those things that you want from the church, are going to happen automatically. It's just that we're not living in a context where that can happen now. We're not going to do any transformation of anything here in America because we don't control the context we exist in.
It could be. I mean, that to me is more of an individual thing. What would motivate you going to a church that trains you how to be a plumber, or having a nation that needs plumbers? To me, it's pretty much more of a rallying cry for the same type of power move. So I'm cool with it. Is whatever would motivate people. My whole thing is,
yeah, all right, I got you.
My whole thing is, when I look at neighborhoods where most of the people are classified as Black on Google Maps, I see all of these religious institutions.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole thing is, it just ends up being a numbers game. And I compared this in a video I made, and I mentioned, if you compare any type of building, or if you played those Sim City games,
mm-hmm.
you first have to build your ability to build. Otherwise, you're gonna run into a situation where you might have money, but you don't have anything to invest it in. And that's why I say reparations by itself is problematic.
Right.
It would just be a
cash grab.
I think it could be more than that if it was paid out slowly. But if you were to just, like, if Trump were to just drop $2 trillion to individuals right now,
oh, that would be the worst thing that ever happened to us.
Yeah, that.
Which gets back to my point. We're talking about reparations without first establishing the nation, and I just think strategically that that's the wrong way to do it. Because I've often said, if the president or whoever the person is in charge said, yes, I'm going to pay black folks of African descent this $2 trillion, and we're going to hand it out in the form of individual checks. How does that translate into power? How does that translate into land, infrastructure, nationhood for us in the future? If anything, it'll make us even more individualistic, because now you got some cake in your pocket. Who gives a shit about the collective? Now you can get that caddy that you wanted.
Well, one good thing is it would blow up what we have so far. It would help the BAIO out. You know, if you have some organization right now, and it would show you, it would also produce a generation that feels as if there's been some sort of justice. So they're less likely to complain and fight for it, and instead of taking advantage of it, there'd be a sense of responsibility. I think it would be a net positive, definitely.
Wait, would it be a net positive before, if they was to give it out before any organization or nation was formed?
If they were to do it right now, it would be a net positive. It just would be a net positive that could have been far better if it was done a different way. Like, to me, it would be a shrewd move by Trump. He could point to a whole bunch of real examples, not the fake shit, of little Wakandas and success stories, and they probably get way more of the black vote than they've gotten. It wouldn't be that much money in scope of what America deals out. I mean,
no, I totally get where it would benefit the system. I didn't benefit where I'd get where how it would benefit Trump. I just don't see how it would benefit us.
It would be a net.
How would it? Because other than the initial paycheck or the initial money, once that money's gone, and it will be gone pretty fast, what do we have? We have no leverage left. Because you better be really, really sure that the people that got that payout are going to dedicate some of that money toward a nation. I have my serious doubts about that, and I'm going on what we're doing right now. I don't expect any dramatic mental change because they handed out a check.
There would be people that would sign up to give a portion of their check to develop and stuff. To me, it would be a net positive because of that. Just the amount of people, you would have people, if it was just 1% of the population, 0.5%, and they're getting this steady amount of money. The thing is, like you said, if it's just one day, then there's a big problem. But I don't think it would just be one day. But hypothetically, if it was just one day, I think it would be a net positive. But it would be reduced to the point where you would take off a potential power move. You know what I mean?
Okay, I get the sense that you're talking about you have to be talking about some type of organization involved in the reparations, because if you're talking about where that was a one of the prerequisites, I would say, or maybe like something that would have to happen, like in order for that person to get that check, they would have to donate a certain portion of it toward land, infrastructure, and nationhood, then yeah, I get it. But if that isn't in place, I doubt very seriously, and I could be wrong, and I'll ask the people in the chat room if they agree with me or they don't, but I doubt very seriously if people get individual checks and there's no organization in place, they ain't gonna give a shit about land, infrastructure, nationhood.
It also depends if it checks, with an S or just one big check tomorrow? If it's one big check tomorrow,
well, if it's one
then
big check,
that's a bit.
that means I would prefer the one big check, because that means that we have a nation in place.
No, I mean one big check to individuals. That's what I'm talking about. Or is it a individual checks over a period of time? But
Oh, it's going to be one check.
to individuals,
It's going to be one check to individuals. It's not going to be over a period of time, because politically, I can't even see that happening. If a president was to even attempt to do that, like let's say do it over how long? 10 years, 30 years?
I would say 30. I
That
mean, they
would
did
be
that for
over.
Native Americans.
That would be over the moment the next president got elected. There'd be an executive order and they stop that shit, because there would be a backlash from the white people in the country.
That part of that is on us, because we have not, we haven't been politically savvy enough to make it justice, to make it reasonable, to show people that it's affordable. And we've done the same thing for everybody else, except maybe Mexicans, but
gets back
everybody
to my
else has
point.
received reparations, and it wasn't just one big check in most cases. I mean, like I said, I mean, in Washington, you got a bunch of Native Americans that are getting checks every year.
Yeah, but those people have nations. They have organized structures. Black folks are just scattered individualists, which gets back to my point. What are we talking about? Because we don't operate as an organized group. We're an ad hoc nation. We're looked at like by our enemies as a nation of people, because they all see us as looking the same, or they can visually make out who we are. That's why it's like people, and because of that dynamic existing, that's why that whole thing about the lighter you are, the more you can pass becomes a prevalent thing. Because if it's not obvious just based on your physical appearance that you're black, then you can, assimilate into the society better. So that's why everybody likes to have light-skinned babies and babies with blue eyes and brown, because it makes them easier to assimilate, and they figure they don't have to go through as much bullshit as somebody that's dark-skinned. That whole dynamic is fucked up, as far as I'm concerned. And it's a dynamic that exists because we don't have any organized structure. I mean, we're just trying, and the BAIO, we're trying to get it so that we can find out how many people in each state is for nationhood, so we can kind of we're loosely organizing in an organic way. But I feel like we have to do something to organize before we start going to the government. Because like I said, we ain't going to the government anyway, because there is no we. All we're going to have is a bunch of individual people who figured that this is the way I want. They're going to be like Thanos. Nobody told Thanos to snap his fingers and wipe out half the universe. He decided to do that shit. He decided, hey, nobody can do this for me. Nobody understands but me. It's like, come on, man. We got to get organized.
Well, one thing, though, is unless there is that hypothetical situation, reparations would probably come from a hell of a savvy and organized movement. So if it occurred, there would be some organization to it, most likely.
Exactly.
Now,
because actually, when you think about it, I can't think of any other way that it would occur, because somebody has to represent African Americans in the courtroom. Who's going to do that? Because who have black people or African people in America elected or appointed to do that?
Yeah, and somebody would have to hold a lot of money to organize political campaigns. So
you're talking about organizational structure.
To fund politicians that are with the agenda. So yeah,
no matter how you slice it,
structure. So
you gotta have it before you can even have the concept come to the table. It has to be organized, because just the mere logistics of it, you have to have an organization. And in my opinion, that organization is the nation state. We need to push for the nation state first before we start pushing. Or if you want to do it, I can even accept doing it dual. It can run parallel. You can push for the nation state while you're pushing for reparations, but you cannot push for reparations without having that nation state. That's insanity. And it's gonna. And if you have a shrewd politician, If I was in a Trump position, or if I was the president and black folks wanted to have reparations without having a nation first, I would cut that check immediately. Because I know once I cut that check, I've taken away your legs out of you. I've taken away all your leverage. Because once I cut the check and I know that this person got this check, you better not come to me with no racism. Racism does not exist. Discrimination does not exist. Don't come to me about all this stuff that's happening to you. You need what's they call it? You need what's the term they use? Affirmative action and all this stuff because you're a minority and you're being treated unfairly. That shit is out the fucking window.
Yeah.
You got a check, nigga. We got your social security number. We know how much it went, how much it was, and we know what bank it went to. So you can take your little racism and discrimination shit right over there to TD Bank or Chase.
That's the thing, though, is it's probably not going to happen like that anyway. But I get what you're saying.
Let's hope not. That would be a disaster.
I will say, though, that I'd rather have that than nothing at all, because there is a point where I'm sick of hearing people complain that don't mention reparations. So at least you would kill that noise, because if you feel aggrieved and victimized, you have to have some point in which you are satisfied. Otherwise, you're just going to constantly find something to complain about, and that's not healthy. You know what I mean? That's the type of
do you really
persona.
think? Do you really think it's that though? Like, is it just because you're not? Because I use myself as an example. I don't mention reparations really. I mean, I've talked about it briefly. Like most of the stuff you heard today is what my opinions on it is. But I'm actively engaged in the process of trying to rally around the principles of land, infrastructure, and nationhood. Actively. My position is not to sit back and complain about what's happening to us in America. So the problem is, and I agree with you, that you do have people that complain, and like I said, I call them the misery merchants. Their job is to tell you how the white man is kicking your ass and to give you blow by blow details on how he's kicking your ass. And then for you to pay them so they can give you more details on how you're getting your ass kicked. Everything is about you getting your ass kicked. Nothing is about you gaining any type of socioeconomic and political power. So the BAIO and the people that's for, like you talk about black nationalists and Africans and progressives, we're not just sitting on our ass waiting for the U.S. government to give us a check.
Well, I don't know anybody who is really. I mean, if they are, it's, to me, that's not really the issue I have for people. It's not people that are waiting on getting a check, because I've seen polls where like 40% of African Americans do not want reparations. You know, so if it's that high, then hell, I mean, like even someone like what's her name, Yvette Carnell, who's always talking about reparations.
Mm-hmm.
She isn't just presenting it as she's presenting it as a reason to move on, I should say, like to not complain. You know, like this is an end game. This is a process. This isn't something that you're just going to perpetually do. Now, she could be saying the same thing 10 years from now. It wouldn't surprise me.
Whoa, wait. Explain what you mean by that. When she says this is something we need to move on, what does she mean by that?
That it's and this is like, I might be taking her out of context, but a lot of times she'll talk about all the human rights violations that African Americans has faced as, okay, well, what should happen? What is justice? And answering that question is where I say it sounds like she wants to move on, get it, move on. It's not, and understanding that getting it will first, you have to deal with the 40%. I mean, if 40% of African Americans don't want reparations, what percent of them are actually willing to put in some money to get it, or are willing to invest in to elect politicians that favor it.
So basically, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So she's saying she just wants the money, and then after we get the money, then we can forget about all these issues.
I would say it's not just that. It's also dealing with all those issues. I mean, that's just like one way to deal with all those issues. Now, how else she goes with it, I don't know. You know,
well, yeah, it's kind of. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for putting you in a position where you have to, explain Yvette Carno's position, because I totally apologize for that, because you can't speak for her. But one of the things that I will say, and this is something that I see that the people in her crew do. When I look at the information that her and the other guy, Tone Talks, I believe his name is, and I see the information that they're drawing from when they talk about Black folks not having any money and Black folks having a worse position in the society than white people do and all of that information that they got, I have. When I went and looked through their references and their sources, all of those links are links that I've already read and studies and researches that I've already been through. The only difference is the conclusion that they're drawing from the data. And one of the things that annoys me is, yeah, Black folks, they say it'll take 225 years for Black folks to be on par with white folks. Yeah, all of that is true. But my question is this, and people can say whatever they want to, and I've actually talked about this whole concept of spending power equating to power. It doesn't in any way, shape, or form. So let me make that clear before I make the next statement that I'm going to do. Because every time I say this, somebody pops up and wants to say, but spending power doesn't equate to power. I was like, I never said it did. But this is a reality and this is a fact. In this current context, Black folks produce about $1 trillion in spending. $1 trillion in spending is not a fantasy. $1 trillion in spending is not anything that can be debunked. That's a fact. You have $1 trillion worth of spending power. $1 trillion. That's more than most nations on this planet. And the reason why I mention this, I'm mentioning this for a reason. I'm mentioning this for a reason. Which means that right now, currently, Black folks have about $1 trillion that they could spend. I want an answer to this question, and not from you. You can answer it if you want to, but I want to answer it to her crowd and her people, anybody who, if they hear this video, or anybody in the chat room. If we have $1 trillion worth of spending power, what are we going to do if we get $1 trillion more? Are we going to suddenly become nationalists? Are we going to suddenly decide that, oh, wow, you know what? Land infrastructure and nationhood is the way to go. I'm glad I got this extra $1 trillion, because now we can actually have a nation now. Or do you think that extra $1 trillion, they're going to do the same thing with that extra $1 trillion that they're doing with the current $1 trillion that they have? Spending it, not using it to develop any industries, not using it to develop any organization or any nation or build any infrastructure. We're just going to have $1 more $1 trillion worth of spending. Our mentality and our consciousness is not going to change because you got an extra check or because you got a few more dollars. We're not approaching the fundamental reason why we're in the position that we're in, and that's because of our consciousness.
That goes back to, if you earn it, then you will take certain values with it.
Thank you.
And take certain traits, because let's say, okay, we got an extra $2 trillion and we earned it. We can earn it now with the $1 trillion by buying politicians and get reparations.
But it's
not difficult to do.
But we don't. And that's my point.
That's why I would say, hey, I agree when it comes to the spending power, because let's say it's true. $1 trillion, that really, it's only a fraction of that. But with that fraction, it's more than what the NRA paid Republicans to go out and tell people to arm school teachers. So, I mean, if you can lobotomize a political party with shit. Like, I think it was maybe they paid Republicans maybe $100 million over 10 years. Out of that trillion, we can get $100 million and pay politicians, people in the media, to make reparations sound like wise, justice, American way, great for the economy, which it would be. But that message is not out. I mean, it's funny. Like, the only time, oh man, I've heard, like, you can say this in other countries. Like, you can go. I remember Tariq Nasheed was on a national show on in Britain, and they were strategizing how African Americans can get reparations. I'm like, God damn, you couldn't say that in the U.S. because we've let it not be able to be said. You know what I'm saying? The acumen and the character that would produce that second trillion would know what to do with it to make further power moves.
But I still say, I think we're saying the same thing. We're just concentrating on a different aspect of it. I think that the problem is not that we're not asking for reparations. I don't think that that's the fundamental problem. I think the fundamental problem is that we refuse to organize ourselves as a people. And because we refuse to organize ourselves as a people, the not asking for reparations to me is just another symptom of that problem. It's not the problem. It's a symptom of the problem, along with every other thing that we don't do as a people. So if we were to concentrate on organizing, concentrate on, and I believe that that's what we're doing with the BAIO, because I can't think of any other organization that's done this. Like, when you try to put together nationalists from, and I'm talking about currently, it might have been done in the past before I was born, but I'm talking about currently, I don't see it. I don't see people trying to reach out to give nationalists a safe space where they can go and communicate and network and socialize with each other and build chapters from their local states, and then hopefully form some type of international movement. You know, I don't see that happening. What I see is a bunch of self-appointed leadership coming out here talking about black shit, whatever the fuck that means, with no agenda. And and my biggest problem is, if we're going to talk about what we need to do, then we have to first establish a tangible and concrete we. Don't give me a vague and abstract we, something out there in the ether. You know, I need a tangible and concrete we, social, economic, and political power. We need a context, a base of operations that we can work from. If we don't have that, then what you got is a bunch of individuals out here. And to be honest with you, if they want to pursue reparations without nationhood, to me, it may be temporarily, you may benefit from it because you got a couple of dollars in your bank account. But for a long-term strategy, it'll be the worst thing that ever happened to us in long term. Because then all the things that we feel is leverage in this society has been taken off the table by that check. And then now, when it come time, when you still under the socioeconomic and boot of oppression here in America, because that check ain't going to stop that from happening, then what you going to do? You already got your check. Then what you going to do after that? When the same thing that's happening to you before is going to be happening to you now. Because you didn't take the time out to actually form a nation state, to have a base of operations. So you just pay, you basically, it's the equivalent of taking all of your chips and throwing them in the middle of the table, and then you roll snake eyes. Game over. And at that point, you know what I think we should do? Oh, God forbid it. This sends a shiver down my back just saying this. At that point, if we're stupid enough to do that, then what we need to do is drop all of these cultural pretensions and become Americans. Drop all this pseudo-cultural struggle shit and just become an American. You lost your chips. Game is over. White man won. Now become his bitch. Because that's it. As far as I can see, when you're a black man and you talking about power, there's no half-ass with that. Either we are going to control our own reality, or we're going to be under the reality of someone else. And if we don't have any, and every black man that calls himself a man and is thinking about his children and thinking about the future, why in the hell would he settle for being under the rule of a white man? That's the ultimate that we can hope for. To hopefully have a nice little portion of the box that he's put us in. We got to really seriously think about it. You got to think in terms of power. This white man, do you think this white man is willing to live under our rule? Let's flip it around. We in this society, we control everything. He's going to stay here and live under us. And his big position, instead of him trying to get something of his own, he's going to say, well, listen, black man, could you help me out a little bit? Just help me make my life a little bit easier, man. I'm not trying to hurt you. I don't want to bother you. I don't want to fight you. I just want to be here and live in peace. Come on, man. We got to start thinking in terms of power, man. And power is having your own nation and your own land. And until we start embracing that unapologetically, then we're going to be right here. We might as well be Americans. I'll say it. We might as well become Americans and drop all of this shit. Celebrate the 4th of July. Put your hand over your heart. Salute the flag. Pledge allegiance. Do all of that shit. Because why not? You don't want your own. If you don't want your own, then why are you fighting the place that you're at? And you know what's really sad, brother? In that sense, the Captain America Negro is more principled than these niggas. Isn't that sad?
Hey.
The Captain America Negro is more principled than the Black Power American. The Captain America Negro is more principled than the misery merchant. The Captain America Negro is more principled than the militant integrationist. You know why? Because he's decided that I'm an American. I'm not going to fight the white man. I'm joining the white man's side. Because this is his country. We're living under his rule. Life is going to be a lot easier for me if I just follow along with him and be on his side than fighting against him like you doing. And I'm fighting a losing battle because y'all guys don't even want power. That is so fucking pitiful and sad, man. God damn. If that doesn't hurt anybody that's listening to this, I don't know what to do with you. If that doesn't crush your spirit or send a chill down your spine, this is the type of manhood that we're dealing with. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm running my mouth. Go ahead, bro.
No, I was just thinking that we're already there to a degree where what bothers me the most is just seeing the things that would have to change that aren't that difficult. But you're already dealing with that Captain America American. I call them the Hucklebucks. They're just witlessly skipping through their day, totally integrated in every way. And
Jesse Lee Peterson.
he's
I mean, I'll use him as an example. Yeah, I'll use him as an example. To show you how pitiful we are in this country, can you imagine any other race that would allow somebody to come out publicly against their own race and make money from it? And that person can just get up in the morning and eat their cornflakes and go to sleep at night and be at the restaurant tipping champagne glasses and under no threat whatsoever from their own people.
I mean, if you can hang Vanilla Ice upside down over some music shit, but yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I'm surprised.
I mean, this guy, and he ain't the only one, but I mean, he's the most blatant one. Like, when you feel comfortable enough to go out and on an open mic in the public for all to hear and say how black people should be happy that they were enslaved by white people and brought over to America, when you can say how black racism and discrimination is all figments of the black people's imagination, that racism doesn't exist and it never existed, when you can say that you ain't a real man until you pick some cotton, when you can say all of this shit publicly and not fear for your life, that just goes to show you how ineffectual and how powerless people consider the black man here in America. We can guarantee, yeah, Jesse Lee Peterson says Jesse Lee Peterson is not scared because he doesn't need black people to pay his mortgage. But and that's true. But my thing is, you know what? Let me not say it. I won't say it. I just leave it to y'all. When a guy like that feels comfortable walking around and everything is just A-okay and he's just, tripling and tooling down the street and everything is cool, that gives you an idea of just how much of a threat we are not considered by anybody. We're not considered a threat by our own people, and we damn sure ain't considered a threat by this system.
Yeah.
But, whatever. I'm just wondering, you know what? I'll take this time out to say this. If you're in this chat room right now, I want you to click on the little exclamation point at the upper right hand of the screen and join. Well, actually, no, Bell. Oh, I'm sorry, Bell. I didn't even see you there. Peace. What's up? Can you put the link to the BAIO in the chat room, please? Thank you. If you are not a part of the BAIO and you're in this chat room, please click on this link and join the BAIO. When you get approved, go to your state chapter. And when you get to your state chapter, hopefully your state chapter has people in it. Because sometimes, like not everybody in the group has gone to their state chapter. So if you see a state chapter and it doesn't have anybody in it, don't worry. We'll get people in there. Just the people have to join. Because there's people from all over the place. They just haven't joined into the chapters yet. But when you join your state chapter and there's people there, reach out to those people, make them your friends, try to congregate with them, try to socialize with them, try to network with them, try to have, as a matter of fact, PA yesterday had their first Google Hangouts, Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania was the first group to actually get the members to talk and meet up. I believe Atlanta's probably going to be next. I would like to say New York is next, but New York is kind of disappointing me right now. But the whole thing is, if you're not a part of the BAIO, you need to sign up, because I put a post on my Facebook page for the 4th of July. And let me go to it. My post said, if you're black and you haven't joined the BAIO, I'm giving a side eye to all of your July 4th butt hurts. Because I was saying all this stuff about, oh, this not of our independence. This nigga, shut the fuck up. Shut up. Are you a part of anything trying to get some power? Or are you just one of these complaining, bitching ass niggas? Where you just gonna bitch and moan and complain and cry and get a snotty nose and a teary eyes over the white man and how he's treating you in America? When are you gonna get into the goddamn game and start doing something? And we're not even talking about you sacrificing your life or changing your lifestyle. We're talking about clicking on a link and signing up to a free site. If we don't have the energy to do that, then we might as well call it a wrap, man. We might as well call it a wrap. Can we please end the conscious community and the culture conscious, whatever you want to call this shit? Like, can we end it and just become Americans? Because that's where I'm at right now. If you're not going to do something to get your ass into the game, then why are we fighting this cracker? Why are we fighting the white man? What are we fighting him for if we don't have an end game? Do we want power? Or do we want to complain? perpetually, 24/7. I'm really getting tired of doing these shows, man. And I think if he's still in the chat room, D Stevenson 100, son, I feel you. If you're still in the chat room and you're hearing this, I feel you, son. I'm not against what you're saying. I'm talking about the comment that you had made on one of my videos. I feel what you're saying. I do. It seems like we're just spinning our wheels sometimes. Like we keep going around and around in this circle, and we're not making strides to move forward. And to me, moving forward is joining the BAIO, because it's the only place that I see where we're trying to establish something and not just a perpetual misery merchant circle jerk. So that's what I have to say. Are you still there, 42?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna unless you, I mean, I want to give you the last word. Say what you got to say.
I was
I'm
just
getting
going to
ready to
say
close it
that
out.
a lot of times, for better or for worse, we are tribal. And one of the reasons why I took the name 42 Tribes is it dealt with how ancient Egypt was formed, and also in respect to the 42 tribes of Kenya, which I think is funny considering if you go one country or two over, you go to Somalia, where everybody's Somali. So you got one tribe in Somalia, and and everybody is a Somali or immigrant, and then you got the 42 tribes united. I think in some respect we are more united than we give ourselves credit for. We're just united in a whole bunch of little bickering organizations, but eventually those bickering organizations can Voltron up. So I am optimistic about that. Not much else, but I'll leave it on a good note.
Yes, from your mouth to the creator's ears, whatever deity you guys worship, I hope it goes straight to his ears or his or her ears or its ears, and we can get some shit done, because this is really, we need to stop talking right now and we need to start doing. And doing means joining people of like mind and getting together with other people of like mind so that we can form this nation. Because that's what the BAIO is. You're really forming a nation right now. Because once you get people into their state chapters, then the next issue is, well, what do you do? Because we have groups in there for engineers, architects, you know what I'm saying? All different types, people in economics, mathematics, military. What do you do once you get in there? So this is basically the formation. You're looking at the very beginning of a nation being formed. And I would love for you to be a part of it. And I'm glad and I'm honored to be a part of it. And I'm not a big, I'm not a big wig, because there's a lot of people in, who recently, and I touched on this in Dynast show. The good thing about this social network is that the big wigs are not going to join their state chapters. You know why? Because it's beneath them. Why would they join a state chapter and be like everybody else? They're your leader. They're your king. They're your prince. They're your grand poobah. Grand poobahs and kings and grand masters don't join chapters. What I can't be amongst the common ilk. I have to lead you. So the great thing about the BAIO social network is we're dealing with the people. Everybody looks at Kala and me and Minister as being some damn leaders. We're not no leaders. You know what Kala is? Kala is a member of the Virginia chapter of the BAIO. You know what Holip is? Holip is a member of the New York chapter of the BAIO. You know what Minister DeWood is? He's another member of the New York chapter of the BAIO. We're not no leaders. We're just in these groups or in these chapters and these state chapters just like everybody else, because this is a people movement. Because that's who we're appealing to, the people. We're not appealing to the black talking heads. We're not appealing to the princes. We're not appealing to the grand poobahs and the grand masters and the kings of consciousness. We're appealing to you, because you're the one getting that foot put up your ass here in America. You having to worry about what's going to happen to your children and they walk outside of your house. Those are the people that we're talking to. Those are the people that we want to join. Those are the people that I'm talking to right now. And those are the people that we're communicating to. So let the talking heads do what they do. Talk. What you need to do is sign up and be a part of your state chapter and get with people of like mind. Because while these niggas is talking, we're going to be forming a nation. And on that note, thank you everybody for tuning in. I'm glad I got this amount of people with the amount of time that I scheduled this. I think I scheduled it like 20 minutes before I did it. And I want to thank 42 Tribes for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And I'll holler at you good people later. Thank you, Bell.
So long.
Peace.